Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is Alaka here for EPCreativeMedia and I'm back with a brand new video, and today I bring you a tutorial on how to create your own custom content, but this time I am making a beginner's tutorial. But first I bring you the verse for the day, and it is from John chapter 1 verse 5, reading, "And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not." Now let's get right into the tutorial. So, as mentioned, this tutorial is basically where I'm going to be going through almost like a beginner's guide to creating custom content. The very first time that I recorded my first ever tutorial, I was still pretty much a novice, but I was excited and I wanted to share what I learned. However, I have come a long way on how to go about creating custom content. I still cannot create my own mesh yet, but I think I am a much better custom content creator than I was obviously a couple of years ago. In addition to that, obviously I want to be able to be a little bit more specific and not confuse people, and so I'm hoping with this guide, for those who want to learn how to create custom content, this is a custom content recolor as opposed to creating actual models from scratch. You're just going to be recoloring what is already in the game. And for this particular tutorial, we're going to be sticking to base game items. So I'm not going to venture into the other packs, but we're just going to focus on the base game items, and we're going to go ahead and recolor that. I haven't decided just as yet what item I'm going to recolor. However, we'll get to that when the process obviously begins. So first things first, checklist. What do we need in order to start creating custom content for The Sims 4? You actually require three items. I was about to say four. 3 items. The first item that you actually need is Sims 4 Studio. Sims 4 Studio is my application of choice. There are other applications out there that people do utilize to create custom content, but my application of choice is the Sims 4 Studio. It's very easy, it's user friendly, and as far as I am concerned, it has not given me any problems. The developers are constantly updating it, and so it's definitely one that I highly recommend, and I think it is the one that is mostly used by the majority of Sims 4 custom content and mod creators. So the Sims 4 Studio. And so what I have done is, as you can see right now, as I'm now showing you, is my browser where I've got a bunch of tabs open in readiness of showing you what you actually need. So there's Sims 4 Studio that you need, and then you also need an editing photo editing software. And so my recommendations are Photoshop and PHOTOPEA. Okay, Photoshop, for those who already have an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, you can go ahead and use Photoshop, but for those who do not have an Adobe Creative Cloud or a Photoshop subscription, go ahead and use PHOTOPEA because it's completely free, and it actually allows for you to be able to edit things in almost the exact same way as you would in Photoshop. It's got majority of the features that Photoshop actually has, so that's the next best thing to Photoshop. There are other applications that you might choose to use. Just make sure that they actually can be able to deal with the same type of elements that are required for you to edit your images into your patterns for the design that you need for the item you're editing for the Sims 4 Studio. Okay, just bear that in mind. And obviously the third thing that you need is obviously artwork or textures or patterns or shapes, you know, that you can be able to implement for the design elements side of the item that you're going to be editing. So I'm just going to go through all the browsers of the things that I've mentioned. Photoshop is already open on my other window, but we're going to get to that once we are actually opening the items from Sims 4 Studio. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to Sims 4 Studio. Sims 4 Studio has got 2 versions, okay? It's got Wishes and it's got Star. Wishes is the version that is basically just the normal version, whereas Star is basically the dark mode version of Sims 4 Studio. And so now, as I went to the website in readiness for this tutorial, I noticed it said that the Crystal Creations patch broke the community tested version. Please use the better version. Now the better version is actually happens to be ironically happens to be the Star. So I'm going to go ahead and close this window because we do not need it, because it's going to literally send me to the same exact page that I already have open on the next tab. So I'm going to close that, and we're going to go ahead and go to Star. Now this is the star version. As you can see, it literally says star there, and you're going to see it's going to have a screenshot available, and you just have to go ahead and scroll all the way down here and click on download installer. Okay, should I go ahead and do you know what, let me do this. Maybe mine needs updating anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and download installer just for the sake of this tutorial. I was not going to actually go through this exact process, but I think maybe it will serve anyone who's learning and who's never downloaded Sims 4 Studio before. Maybe this is going to be helpful, so I'm not going to skip this part. After all, this is supposed to be a beginner's tutorial, so let me not do that to you. So the download link has taken me straight over to obviously Google Drive, and Google Drive will always say this has not been scanned for viruses, etc., that sort of thing. Are you sure? Just go ahead and accept it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and download it. I'm gonna download it into my downloads folder, which is where I always place stuff, because then it's easy for me to delete any exe files that I do not need anymore. So I'm gonna take it to my downloads, and I will download it there. As you can see, it's telling me Sims 4 Studio already exists. I'm just going to go ahead and replace it, which means I actually do already have the latest version. But I'm going to go ahead and replace it, and I'm going to go through the whole reinstallation. I'm hoping it won't take as long, but if it does, we're just going to pause the tutorial for a second, and then we're going to obviously continue where we left off. And so for those who are not sure, whilst this is downloading still, I'm going to go back. The section that I chose when I went and clicked on download, as you can see, it's got two versions, right? It's got download installer and download zip, and then the alternative downloads are Mega and Mediafire. You know, Mega and Mediafire all tend to have like loads and loads of links and pop-ups and things like that. So as much as I'm okay using them, generally for me, because I know I've got good security on my computer, it all depends on the level of security that your computer has if you're going to click on any of these links. However, they do have the installer available, so all you have to do is just download the installer, which is the .exe file. You can download the zip file. The zip file basically is one where you have to know exactly where to place all the files. It's basically the installed version of Sims 4 Studio already in a folder, and you just have to place it in the right section. However, if you're not familiar of how to place installed software, etc., don't take the zip version, because it's going to be just too complicated. You're better off using the exe file so that you can go ahead and just follow the instructions when you are installing it. So that's the link that you have to choose. Installer is the one that I highly recommend. Okay, and if you are facing any issues when it comes to Sims 4 Studio, always just come to sims4studio.com and create an account if you need to. I've got an account, as you can see, I'm logged in, and basically just, you know, browse around. There's loads of answers. There's always people to help. Everyone's extremely friendly. As a matter of fact, with Sims 4 Studio, once you've created your custom content, it actually has a place where you can upload your custom content for other people to download as well, you know, which is a plus for Sims 4 Studio, because they like to see if people are actually finding this useful for them. And it's honestly the thanks that we can give them, really, for giving us this opportunity to actually be able to create our own custom content, right? It's the least we could do. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close that window because we now don't need it anymore. We don't need that Google Drive, nor do we need that one. The next one that we need, I'm gonna just bring that one there. The next we need, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, is Photoshop or Photopea. Now I've got Photopea open here because I just wanted people to see what it looks like. Like I said, it's got an interface that looks very similar to Photoshop. It takes Photoshop documents. If you've got a PSD file that's already needing editing, etc., that sort of thing, you can actually be able to upload it on here and edit it within the browser. It takes After Effects, Illustrator. I don't know, and every time I see AI, I want to say After Effects. After Effects is AE. Illustrator is AI. I don't know why they chose that wording, but as you can see, it takes a variety of different file types that you can be able to actually go ahead and edit absolutely free. Just make sure you don't have an ad blocker, otherwise it will detect it. They need to be able to make the revenue to keep this alive. If not, you can actually pay a monthly fee, which is a lot cheaper than Photoshop, and then that way it will keep a history of your files, etc., that sort of thing that you've been using, and you can easily go back and be able to actually access your Photopea account anywhere in the world. Okay, so that's Photopea, but we're going to come back to Photopea a bit later after we've utilized the Photoshop avenue. And then I'm just going to come back to Photopea just to show you which keys are slightly different from Photoshop. So I'm not going to be doing the entire editing all over again because that's going to take a while. I'm just going to show you which keys differ in Photopea as opposed to Photoshop. You know, majority of them, like I said, are very similar. It's only a few keys here and there because they clash with what the browser shortcut keys are. That's the only difference. So I'm going to go ahead and close Photopea. And the next one I'm going to be showing you is, I mentioned you have to have a photograph or patterns or shapes, etc., that sort of thing, brushes, you know, available that you want to use in order to do the editing properly, right? And so what I have done in this, as you can see, I've already pre-searched Photoshop patterns free download, and this is the first thing that I looked for when I was looking for patterns in order to implement them in my designs that I was creating, right? And so as you can see, there's loads of them. There's Brusheezy. It's got free Photoshop patterns. It actually also has, if I'm not mistaken, Brusheezy also has free brushes as well, because I've downloaded them from them before. Another one is free Photoshop pattern download. It's literally called allfreedownload.com. Victeezy is another one that's really good. So there's a whole bunch of websites that you can actually, you know, go and actually use. If you've got Adobe, obviously you can access certain items within your subscription, but I'm not going to use that one because I feel like it's not going to be very useful. That and the fact that I'm not going to be carrying out any pattern picture downloads because I've got a whole bunch of stuff already downloaded. This is just to show you where you need to go in order to get those downloads. I'm just going to push this one all the way there because it's taking its time. So we're going to start with Victeezy. Victeezy, as you can see, I've already opened it with the it's got the vector pattern Photoshop. Literally, that's the search, and it's brought a whole bunch of them. And you can notice it's actually narrowed it down for me to vector, which is a good thing because you do need them to be of high resolution, because the lower the resolution of the items that you are actually searching for or that you download in order to use for your edited item that you're going to use in game, the lower the quality it's going to look in game. That's what tends to happen. So you need it to be as high quality as you possibly can have it, because it tends to basically it shrinks it when you're editing it, but when you put it in game, it stretches it out. So similar method to what happened when I showed you the tutorial on how to create your custom loading screen, where in Photoshop we had to shrink the picture, and then when it goes in game, it stretches back out again. And so you have to always bear that in mind whenever you are downloading any images, any patterns, etc., that sort of thing that you're going to be using. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. There's honestly a huge variety. You just go according to your taste and what theme you're going for. You know, some are really beautiful. Like if I want to make like beautiful suits and things like that, this is definitely what I would pick, because this looks like a suit line, you know what I mean? So, and this is good for like wallpapers and things like that. It's just beautiful. Just there's loads of gorgeous items that you can actually download. But let me not start, because I know how easily I get carried away, and you're about to find out in a moment, because you see I've got a folder that's got a whole bunch of stuff that I downloaded. So I'm going to close Victeezy. We're going to head on to the next one, which is allfreedownload.com. Allfreedownload.com, as you can see, as well has got a whole bunch of patterns available that you can download. This one has got loads of like literally crazy patterns. This is good for like, I suppose, you know, those walls that you don't paint the entire room this way, you only do it like partially, because it would be too ostentatious, I think, if you have the entire room this way. This one would be really good if you want to create like a full Fendi type designer wear item, like a bag for your Sims and things like that. Some of them can even go on walls as well as clothing. You just have to know how, to be honest. You just have to have the eye for it. That's what that matters. So that's an option. The other options, obviously, these are options that I actually showed as available when I did the custom loading screen. And these options are basically Pexels and Unsplash. Pexels and Unsplash are great websites that I personally recommend, because you find loads of beautiful pictures. So if you, especially if you're going to create like beautiful wall art and things like that for your Sims to be able to keep on their walls, you know, this is the perfect way you can be able to actually add them. As a matter of fact, let me tell you a little trick. Say for example, you want certain items to be in your game, but you don't want to always use custom content. What do? Well, as custom content, you can actually take one of the big swatches of like the art that's normally quite big in game. Take one of those, recreate it as a custom content item, right? Create a duplicate of whatever, an override, create it as custom content, put it in your game on the wall, make it even bigger if you want, cheat your sim to max out their painting skill, okay, and then get them to paint by reference, or actually it doesn't even have to be by reference, you just get them to paint in the direction of where you've placed this, okay, and you take a picture, and when they paint that particular, actually no, it is paint by reference when they do that, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, paint by reference. So paint by reference is it's like taking your sim has to focus on a particular item, so they can basically focus on that particular picture you've downloaded, if it's the picture of the bird, and once that painting is actually done, you can actually save them on a wall, part floor, and save that as a room, right? Save it as a room and upload it to your library, okay, and then disable mods or whatever, restart the game, and then next time you come and download that particular room, this is if the Sims team have not disabled this feature, you should be able to use that exact artwork in your game, and not as custom content. It will actually be wall art that is not registering as custom content, and you can use it as many times as you like and share it to others to use. So that's a little trick that you can be able to utilize when it comes to overriding certain things that you want to show up in game that are not normally available unless it's custom content, and then turn them into no CC. Basically, you have to turn them into a piece of art that your sim has painted. So that's a little trick. So Pexels is one of the item places, and just bear in mind, all these websites, majority of them, like Victizia, I know that they normally ask that you credit the website or you credit the creator. So this honestly is not even asking much for you to do that, you know, it doesn't take much. So go ahead and just credit who you got the pattern for, etc. Credit it, you can even credit it in the description of the item that you've created, or credit it if you're sharing it to the masses, credit it in the notes for the download, you know, that way at least it's no skin off your nose basically. Okay, so Pexels has got is that one, and then Unsplash obviously has got the same elements as Pexels, pictures, videos, artwork, etc., that sort of thing, all free to download. All you have to do with Unsplash is credit the author, credit the creator, you know, and that's it, honestly, and it's absolutely free, you don't have to pay anything. And the last but not least is Brusheezy. Like I mentioned, I've actually got some of these patterns because I have downloaded quite a lot of things from Brusheezy. Brusheezy, you can find a lot of patterns, etc. The only thing with Brusheezy though that I do want you to bear in mind, they link to other or the original creators' websites, so you're not going to be getting them directly from Brusheezy itself, but you're going to be linking back to wherever the, you know, these designs actually come from. That's the only thing with Brusheezy, but it kind of works almost like a Tumblr, you know, where you just scroll through basically and you just find items that have been referred, and then you just have to follow the link. So it still works out, you know. You just have to, some of them you will find that some links might be expired, but it is what it is, you're downloading it for free, right? And so that, I think, brings us to a close on the items that we need. So I'm just gonna run through them again. So you basically need, okay, Sims 4 Studio. In this case, because Wishes is not available, it's gonna have to be Sims 4 Studio Star, which is the dark mode version of Sims 4 Studio. And then you are going to be needing photo editing software, either Photoshop or Photopea or any other that you are comfortable with. And then you are going to be needing some kind of artwork that you're going to be using. Actually, speaking of artwork, let's say you want anime. Okay, anime, and that's what you want to be able to download. Okay, so I've gone ahead and typed in anime images, PNG meaning I want it to have like a transparent background, because that will give me more flexibility in what I can do with its surrounding, you know, area. Go ahead and Google search that, click on images, and then in images obviously you're going to get a variety of options available to you. Victizia, the website that I showed you earlier, has actually got some anime characters, which is a great thing, because then you're not going to be breaching anybody's copyright or intellectual property. But also make sure that any other piece of art that you do download, okay, make sure that you're not going to get in trouble for it. But also make sure that when you do go ahead and download any image that you search through the Google Images gallery, make sure that you click on Tools, and then you go ahead under the menu that pops up there, the very first one says size, go ahead and choose large, because you want the quality of that particular image to be high resolution. That's why the vector images are actually really good for using. Okay, you want it to be high resolution, because if it's low resolution, it's likely to be basically pixelated, or it's basically going to be like smudged up in game, so bear that in mind. It's very, very important that you pay attention to that, but also pay attention to what the Creative Commons license actually permits you in terms of copyright, if things are available for free or if they're not available for free. I know that people have imitated Gucci, Nike, all those different brands within in-game, and they haven't gotten in trouble, which means, I think because it's a game and you are sharing it for free, and so there is a little bit of free reign in regards to that, which means any item that you do find on the internet you might be able to reuse. But I do say, please take caution not to breach anyone's intellectual property, especially if it's a small creator who's created their own anime or whatever else it is they've created, and they haven't given permission, and they've explicitly stated that they do not want anybody to reuse their items. Always read the notes when you go to download stuff. Okay, it's always good to respect people's intellectual property and respect people's copyright. Okay, and so yeah, so that's I just wanted to say that a little bit before in regards to how to go about downloading images. Hopefully that should be helpful for anybody who needed to know that. So I'm going to go ahead and close Google Chrome for now, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to install Sims 4 Studio again. Even if I do have it, I'm going to go ahead through the installation process just so I can show you how to go about obviously installing it if you're installing it for the very first time in your game. Okay, so I'm just opening a new window, Windows Explorer, so that we can get this cracking. So go ahead and click on downloads. And then within downloads you can see Windows, star is up there, so I'm gonna go ahead and just double click that. Okay, so this is pretty much exactly what you're gonna need to do as well. Go ahead and double click it, and then hopefully it's gonna show me a pop-up that will ask me if I want to go ahead and install it and whether it's safe, etc. And whenever you have this pop-up, obviously you have to click on the advanced option. So when it brings up the pop-up, which is a blank screen in this particular recording, it's the one that asks you if you want to go ahead and install this software from an unknown sender or whatever. Just click yes. Okay, and then the next thing you're going to see is a pop-up like this one that says, it's an end user license, so you have to obviously go ahead, you can read it obviously, and then go ahead and accept the agreement. Click on next, and when you click on next, it's going to ask you if you want to create a desktop shortcut. I always just say yes, that way it replaces the previous one, and then go ahead and click on install. Sims 4 Studio actually doesn't take that long to install. The part that actually takes the longest is when you're trying to launch Sims 4 Studio for the first time, or for the first time in a very long time, or the first time after you've done an updated installation. You've created an update, and that's because depending on how many packs you have, that will determine how long it loads the very first time. After the very first time, Sims 4 Studio actually does not take long at all to open, so you do not have to fret to say, oh my gosh, am I going to have to be going through this every single time I install Sims 4 Studio? No, it only happens after you've conducted an update, or if you're installing it for the first time. And then obviously the determining factor on the length of time it takes is the amount of packs that you have. I have pretty much all the packs. Well, I haven't still gotten the brand new pack, the Life and Death one, and the 2 kits yet, but I pretty much have everything else that preceded that. So yeah, go ahead. It's got launch Sims 4 Studio. Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and ask it to launch it because I do need it to launch, and I'm gonna click on finish. Okay, and so whilst it's doing that, I'll see you guys in a moment. So now that we've got Sims 4 Studio opened, it actually did not take as long as I thought it was going to. I ended up having a water break because I think I desperately needed that anyways. So which is a good thing. And the reason why it didn't take long, like I said, is because I first of all already have this version, so it didn't need to technically re-update my Sims 4 Studio. And so as you can see, if it's your first time opening Sims 4 Studio, this is what you're going to see. You're not going to see this simply because it's showing my projects that I've already worked on. This will come after the fact when you've actually started working on projects. And then you're going to see this section at the bottom here that says create a name. Always make sure that you put in your creator name there. Okay, it's going to be a blank, obviously, space for the very first time. Once you've typed in your creator name, every single time that you open Sims 4 Studio, it's going to remember that and it's going to keep that all the time. Okay, and it's a good way to basically, if you've got any troubleshooting issues, etc., that sort of thing, it's easy for you to actually send the reports over to Sims 4 Studio team for them to kind of help you fix it and find out what the issues are. Okay, so looking at the interface for Sims 4 Studio, I'm going to maximize it here actually so that you can have it on a big screen. As you can see, we've got 4 categories: animation, build, cast, and object. Our main focus is going to be build, object, or cast. Okay, animation is basically if you are actually creating an animation, and possibly I think if you're also creating a pose for your pose packs and stuff like that, that is what you can be able to use. Build is basically things that actually create the structure of your build, so things like spindles, things like columns, walls, wallpaper. I don't know if wallpaper applies, but I think it might be here, I'm not sure. But things like stairs, railings, as well as wall fences and things like that, gates, they're likely to be under build. And then objects, obviously things like furniture, decorations, lights, appliances, sofas, you know, all that stuff, they're going to be under objects that are available in build mode. So the reason why you got build and built by, if you notice, build mode is actually called build by, is because you've got build for the actual build items, and then you've got the buy items, the items that you literally, if you've moved into an empty house that's got no furniture, you're going to go and buy items to furnish and fill up the house. So that's why it's called build by. Believe it or not, it's not that complicated. And then you've got cast, which is create a sim, where you have everything that's going to be in cast. Pretty much every single item that's in cast is under the cast. You do have some subcategories under each one, which is for build, you've got standard, recolor, add swatches, and override. Add swatches, I'm assuming, is to add swatches to an item that's pre-existing, whereas override is it literally completely replaces the item that you're going to select. Okay, standalone is basically you're going to create a different a whole other item, like duplicate the item, but you're gonna have the other items gonna have different swatch versions of that item. Okay, and then we've got cast. Obviously, cast creates standalone cast, which is, let's say for example there's a particular t-shirt design or t-shirt style that I like that's in The Sims 4, but I want it to have a certain type of patterns to it, so I can always create another version of it. So you're going to have 2 versions of that. Create 3D mesh. This is if I'm creating custom content from the ground up, but I have not yet learned how to create my own meshes. This is not all we're doing. We're doing custom content recolors. Okay, and then cast, add cast part swatch. I'm assuming this is to add swatches similar to that one. And then the override is to obviously replace an item that you might absolutely despise in the game, that you never want to see ever again. You just want to be able to use custom content with it. Object of this, like I said, it's got pretty much the same. Create 3D mesh. It's got an override, and then selective clone. Selective clone I'm not fully familiar with, but I probably might look into it at another time. However, that's not even a focus, because right now we are looking at creating a standalone cast item or a standalone recolor of an object or build. Now the question is, what should I pick? We're going to create a standalone cast item, and you can see we've got a whole lot of things. Now for those again who are new, once you've selected the standalone, depending on the amount of packs that you have, it might take a minute to load everything. As you can see, this is pretty much everything, including all the packs, if I'm not mistaken. But I do not want to use all the packs, right? So what do? As you can see in the menu at the top there, it's got species. Okay, human, large dog, cat, small dog, fox, horse. This is giving me these options obviously based on the packs that you have. And then gender, female, male, age, obviously it's got adult, child, toddler, infant. This is actually very important because some clothing that might look identical in female and male, you have to actually make a male and a female version of them, because they look very awkward when you try to get a male to put on something that was designed for the female body, and vice versa. Okay, and then the items obviously which are kind of universal, especially particularly the hats. I think it doesn't really matter whether you're female or male. Anybody can pretty much wear pretty much the same hat without it affecting what gender they are, basically. And then part type, obviously when it says part type, it's talking about hat, hair, head, face, clothing, body, clothing top, clothing bottom, shoes, accessory. And you know, if you're trying to organize your mods folder, you can literally use this type of thing to organize your mods folder. Birthmark, occult, tail base, horn, hair forelock, you know, hair tail, loads of different things. Obviously this is kind of for animals, but like it's literally a whole bunch of categories that you can be able to filter your search when you are trying to find an item that you want to recolor, or if you know exactly what you want to recolor but you are struggling to kind of try and locate it. That's the best way. As you can see here, it's showing me all the packs. Now this is the perfect opportunity to actually narrow it down to the pack that obviously you want to use, but we're not gonna, almost hit my keyboard there, we're not gonna do that just as yet, because I just want to go through the whole list, this menu. Content is basically game or custom content. So for example, if there's a custom content creator that has permitted for you to do recolors of their CC, you have to narrow it down to custom content. Now in order for this to happen, there is a method that you have to follow, because there is a particular folder that Sims 4 Studio creates where you have to go ahead and place that particular custom content so that Sims 4 Studio can actually access it. Hopefully, if I remember, I will show you that. Although because this is the beginner's version of me helping you how to create CC, I'm not sure if that's really relevant right now, because I feel like it just adds more complications. But in order to edit other custom content by another custom content creator who has given you permission under their terms of use, you have to place that particular CC into a specific Sims 4 Studios folder for Sims 4 Studio to actually detect it. Okay, and then obviously mesh groups, you know, mesh group 1, 2, 3 all the way to 12, and then obviously in here you can actually search for whatever particular item you're looking for in order to narrow it down. So in this case we're just going for base game. Okay, base game, and then we're gonna search for part type, we're gonna search for clothing. You know, I was gonna say I'm gonna go for body. I was gonna go with the t-shirt, but I'm thinking maybe shall we do a dress? I know that kind of excludes, but then again the t-shirts, like I said, when it comes to t-shirts, there is male and female versions of t-shirts. Therefore, those particular t-shirts I would have to choose between a male and female. So whether I choose a dress or not right now, pretty much, you know. So let me try and find a simple item. Okay, I saw something that was like a jacket as well as this, you know, a coat. This is like one piece suit together for the game. However, if I try to edit this, I'm gonna have to edit the jeans separately, that separately, and that separately in order to literally maintain the design style, whilst adding different patterns to it. And this is a beginner's version, so I do not want to complicate it. So I'm gonna try and find a very simple but nice dress, okay, that we can be able to utilize. What's that dress? I just saw a nice dress there. How about we try and recolor this dress? I'm surprised they never provided a white version of this dress. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take the red dress. Okay, so once you find the item that you actually like, that you want to edit, go ahead and select it and then click on next. Now here's the thing, obviously I've been talking for quite a minute and trying to go through this process. The process, I promise you, does not take this long. Again, this is only because I'm doing this tutorial and I'm having to explain everything as I go. By now, this time, the frame that I've reached where I'm actually explaining this, I would have already edited most of the dress and I would have been preparing to actually test it out in game. So in this particular situation, the dress that we have, I'm gonna cancel for a second there. When you hover over an item, it actually it gives you a brief description of the item. So young female body, double diamond, solid red, base game. Okay, so double diamond, solid red. Okay, I'm just gonna call it the double diamond dress. So I'm gonna media, because this is what I name all my custom content now. EPCreativeMedia double diamond afro print dress. So as you can see, I've chosen to call it afro print dress because I decided right in this moment that it's going to be an afro print dress. I have decided, and I do try. I'm still not fully organized, I'll be honest, when it comes to my CC folder, but I am trying to reorganize. I'm slowly trying to reorganize it. Initially I started using my actual IRL clothing brand name to name my folders, but to be honest, I just need to just name them according to the actual item. It makes my life easier. So here I've got Elri clothing, and I think that's where all the clothing is going to be anyways. So I'm just double checking if I don't have it yet. So I'm gonna open that one. As you can see, accessories, boys, dresses, textures, women's tops, workwear. So dresses is where I'm gonna go, and as you can see, I've got an afro print dresses. This is obviously, as you can see, this is when I was still finding my way around even how to label my package files properly, you know, but now I've gotten the hang of it. Okay, I've gotten the hang of it. So as you've seen, as soon as you click the item, you click next at the corner here. Once you click next, you're gonna get a pop-up that basically asks you to save it as a package file. The package file is actually the file that you're going to be placing in your mods folder once the whole thing has been created and saved. Okay, and so when it asks you to save the package file, do make sure that you have your own custom content creations folder ready somewhere, not in your mods folder, but somewhere else separate from your mods folder, where you can actually keep all your custom content and then organize them according to what works best for you. Okay, in my case, you've already seen how I've gone about doing that. And so once you've done that, obviously it's going to take you now to the actual item. Now right now what you are seeing is the warehouse. The reason why I'm in the warehouse, because the last thing I edited on this particular Sims 4 Studio, I was actually editing a custom loading screen, and loading screens do not really have images and stuff like that within Sims 4 Studio. They mainly use the warehouse section of Sims 4 Studio. Do I fully know what warehouse is in Sims 4 Studio? No. All I know is it's where the technicalities kind of reside, and I only delve into them when I'm editing certain items. Okay, and so what we actually need is to go to the studio side of it, where we can actually see the image of the dress. Okay, so it's gonna take a second because yeah, Sims 4 Studio on this particular computer that I'm using at the moment, they don't get along. So in the studio section, so just an FYI, if you do find yourself in the warehouse section of Sims 4 Studio, just go ahead and click on studio and you'll be able to see the image of the actual, you know, item, etc., unless that particular item you are editing does not require for you to see the studio side of the creation, you know. Otherwise, for the most part, most items you can actually view them within the studio section of Sims 4 Studio. And so for those who wanted to know, as you can see, it's on dark mode, right? When you are using dark mode of Sims 4 Studio, you do have options, as you can see, of the type of dark mode that you want to choose. I can't remember which one I picked, and I'm not going to take the risk of selecting any others, but I think I picked one that's got blue in it because it's got the blue at the sides. And so yeah, you can choose a different dark mode version that you want. All you have to do is click at the very top there where it's got the little paint palette, and you have the options, and then everything else around it obviously will be dark. And it's got the light versions, by the way. As you can see, dark light, orange, dark light, etc. So it's kind of nice that way. I picked the one with the blue accent, and that's why I have it in this way. Now, when you are in Sims 4 Studio, how to go about navigating the actual item, first of all, is you can literally scroll with your mouse. Right now I'm scrolling with my mouse in out. If you want to check out the rest of the item, like look at it around, whilst you've got your mouse item, obviously if you want to place it up and down like this, I've actually pressed down on the mouse scroll, and this is what's allowing me to do this. But using the mouse, obviously whilst you've got the mouse selected on the right, You right select and press, and you can literally rotate it this way. Okay, you can literally rotate it this way, and you can go, this is basically me right clicking. Whilst you've got a right click, you can literally do this. This is what allows you. And then obviously with the scroll selected and press down, I'm able to bring this, and then I scroll forward and I zoom in. So this is how you can go about navigating, how to basically navigating the stage. Okay, right click and click and hold, basically right click and hold will allow you to rotate up and down and everything that I'm doing right now. Okay, holding tight, pressing and holding on the scroll, on the mouse scroll, allows you to do this. Okay, basically rolling the mouse scroll backwards and forwards allows you to do this without pressing it down. Okay, hopefully this is helpful for anyone who wanted to know. Okay, so that's how the navigation for that works. Now with that now done, okay, I'm just having a look. This is what I do. I actually tend to have a look at the item so that I can see what I'm up against, because you find that once you're looking at something in Sims 4 Studio, you discover things that you never discovered even whilst looking at the item in game. So as you can see, the reason why it's called a diamond, double diamond, is because it supposedly has diamonds around there. Hopefully this should be this shouldn't be too difficult, because I'm going to be dealing with just that and that. And so now when you look at the right panel of it, you've got texture, meshes, categories, and tuning, right? So in this case, we've got diffuse, shadow, specular, normal, emission, color. What we actually need is the diffuse. You don't need any of the other items, none of these. Okay, diffuse is the one that you're going to be using, and then the textures, this is after you have changed the color. Then you can literally, when you right click on the item there, it's got the eyedropper tool that pops up. Literally right click on it, the eyedropper, you can pick a color from the item and it will appear on there. You know, let me just do that to get rid. Come on, click, it takes a second. And then basically use the left, obviously, mouse button to select the item, and then it would have selected the color that's actually within the item. If you have only one color, you don't have any other, you can actually free to get rid by clicking the X. You can actually get rid of the other colors just so you can have one color. Some of them sometimes have completely nothing for some bizarre reason. Maybe if you're creating a transparent item. Okay, the other section is meshes. You don't need that, so you can ignore that. Categories. The categories, you do need that. The only thing you would have to change within the categories of that particular item is the color swatch options that are available. You've already changed them in the texture section, but you also have to actually update them down here. So in this case, the color palette, earth tone, spring, goth, rock, punk, summer. As you can see here, it doesn't have any, but you've got the option to actually add it if you want to. The fabric style, it's saying it's silk. You know, the archetype, here it's got African, Middle Eastern, so I'm going to be Afro print, so I'm actually going to be putting African afterwards. The style, arts quarter, matte, fashion district, you know, that sort of thing. So it's got a nice, you know, variety of options that you can actually select. And these options that you select within Sims 4 Studio are how you can actually search for the item within CAS. Now obviously if it's built by, it's even easier because you can literally type in the names. I've never seen that option available in CAS, which sucks. However, the categories are there within CAS for you to actually find the item. Okay, and then tuning, obviously we're not tuning this at all at the moment, so that's not important. So the main sections that you have to be concerned with is categories and textures, and that's it. Okay, and you're good. And so back to diffuse, which is what the main focus is, that will allow us to now start editing this particular item. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and export. So once you've selected diffuse, you're gonna see the item, and this is the reason why I chose CAS, because I knew I stood a higher chance of actually just exporting one diffuse, whereas if it was the bed, I would have had to export two of them. If it was another furniture item, I might have to have had to export 3 of them. If it was a piece of clothing that had too many sections within it, I might have had to export about 3 or 2 of them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and export. So when you click on export, it's going to take you to, if I'm not mistaken, where you had the package file. Roughly, yes. Okay, it takes you to where the package file is. You can see I've got other dresses that I have edited, Afro print dresses as well, might I add. And this was when I was new, like I was literally taking screenshots from within Synflow Studio, ridiculous. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead, because it is the PNG version of this particular dress, I'm gonna go ahead and just call it the double diamond base. Okay, double diamond base, and then save. Click on, I pressed enter, but you can just go ahead and click save. And once it's done that, actually what it tends to do is it pops up. It literally automatically opens a window. And just as I was mentioning it, it's just gone ahead and done that, which is brilliant. And as it opens it, it will be automatically selected, so you don't even have to look for it, right? And so as we are going to be opening it in Photoshop, for me, because it's a PNG, it automatically tries to open it as just a normal like picture viewer. We don't want to do that. We do want to open it in Photoshop, so I'm going to go ahead and use the drop down menu there so that I can select Photoshop for it to actually go ahead and open it. And then obviously we're just going to wait for it to open up in Photoshop, and then we're going to proceed with the editing element of it. Now the editing element of it actually doesn't take too long if you already know what you're doing, but again, for the purposes of this tutorial, it's probably going to take a minute for me to be able to actually go through the process. But I'm hoping, as I said, this is a beginner's tutorial. I'm hoping you'll be able to follow step by step what it is that I'm doing. If anyone is confused or if I've skipped anything, please do feel free to let me know down in the comments, and I will be happy to oblige and get back to you as soon as possible to respond, and I'll try to be as helpful as I possibly can. Now Photoshop, when I opened it, actually opened in the other window, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Photoshop over to the other side of the screen, if you'll let me. There we are. Alright, Photoshop, I think I need it to settle. It's giving me double vision right now. There we go. So Photoshop is now opened in the other window, so I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, now here's the thing, it's a force of habit. I was already trying to zoom in and just get started, get right into it, forgetting that I was giving a tutorial. So as you can see in Photoshop, this is how the dress looked, right? Just like the way you saw it in Synflow Studio. This is literally, you're always going to see a preview of what Photoshop is going to have on the side, and so this is pretty much what we have. Now once it's open in Photoshop, please do not close Synflow Studio, just minimize it. Like I said, the pop-up will actually pop up in front of the screen anyway to take over, but just make sure that Synflow Studio is actually just minimized. Do not shut it down, because you're going to be needing it after you finish this to re-import the same item and replace it basically. Okay, so whilst in Photoshop, for those who are fairly using Photoshop, one of the first things I tend to do is I inspect the area, and the way I basically do that, I click on Alt key and I use the mouse scroll and I just zoom in. Okay, using the mouse scroll is zoom in, and the thing is, whichever section your mouse pointer is on, that's the section you're going to be zooming in towards more. So that's pretty much how that works. Okay, so I'm gonna, oh, did I do too much? There we go. Come on, we good? There we go. Okay, so we're going to leave it at that. At least that way it's zoomed in close enough to see everything. As you can see, this is the section that, I'm trying to figure out, where does that go? I think this is the section that goes at the back of the neck, and then this is the section that goes over the shoulders, and obviously this is actually the back. So the section that divides the front and the back is literally right there. Okay, so this gives me an idea of which sections I can and cannot avoid, etc., that sort of thing. So the first thing I tend to do is I right click the layer. Okay, so the layer which is at the bottom right here, I right click the layer and I go ahead and I duplicate it. And with the layer duplicated, now I have an opportunity to edit the layer copy. Okay, so I'm going to hide the original, and I'm going to go ahead and select the layer copy that I've made, because everything else is pretty much the same color, right? Pretty much the exact same color. And because everything is pretty much the exact same color, I don't have to worry about getting the colors wrong or anything like that, because my aim right now is to basically delete the entire red area. Okay, I'm gonna, all caps is on, that's why you're seeing a cross. I'm just gonna remove all caps so that I can actually see the magic eraser tool, and I'm gonna go ahead and delete. Literally, I know it sounds so scary, but I'm gonna go ahead and delete the entire area and see how much it actually allows me to delete. Let's delete that. We don't need that. Don't need that, because I literally just want to leave I just want to leave behind the diamonds basically. Okay, I'm hoping it doesn't delete them. It seems to be deleting some of it, which I'm not happy with. But the magic eraser tool is the easiest one, but I'm gonna hang on. No, I think it's doing okay. Alright, I think it's doing okay. I was just double checking to see if it was deleting stuff it shouldn't be. I think it's doing okay. So even if we have some of it kind of removed, I'm actually a little bit okay with that, to be honest, right now. And for the sake of this tutorial, because if I try to be too specific, I'm gonna take extremely long. Now, I have managed to erase the bits that are important. Now I'm gonna use the normal eraser tool, and I'm actually just going to size up. Okay, so I'm using the bracket key. I'm using the right bracket key to size that up. I'm gonna make sure that the brush is actually is completely hardened, so it has to be hardened to 100%. If it's soft, it takes out a bigger area than it's supposed to. Harden it up to 100% and just increase it using the bracket tool, and just click in those spaces. Click in those spaces. Okay, and that should be good. And then I'm going to go ahead, scroll down a little bit, and I'm also going to use the zoom. Okay, this is where I tend to zoom in like extremely close. As you can see, it looks a bit pixelated as well, but that's fine. You don't have to worry about that. So this basically allows me to come very close to the edges and get rid of anything else that I do not need. Okay, so get rid of that. So now that I've just got the diamond bit, the next part is if I unhide the other one, it's like nothing happened, right? But that's the whole point. Okay, that's literally the whole point, and it's at the bottom, which means when I basically edit the bottom bit, it's not going to affect the top one. The top one is going to be there all the time, but I will also have the option to recolor the top bit as I see fit, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to leave the layers. I'm going to actually rename them. This is going to be the dress base. Okay, and then I'm just going to rename that one to diamonds. Yeah, and that's it. That way we know what's what. So the next part that I mentioned earlier when I downloaded, I mentioned about downloading the patterns, etc., that sort of thing. Now I'm going to show you how you have to go about doing that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and download pattern. Actually, before I do that, guys, I am going to do something. Okay, when it comes to using these editing software, etc., that sort of thing, they do have a tendency of crashing from time to time, and so in order to avoid that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna save this. I'm actually gonna save it as a Photoshop document. That way, if anything happens, even anytime during this tutorial and it crashes, I'll still be able to have the template, and also I'll still be able to continue on afterwards. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and save it as a Photoshop document. As you can see, because I placed it in Photoshop from the dresses category folder, should I say, it's automatically taking me to the dresses folder, which is perfect, and double diamond base, which is fine, because it basically also allows me to reuse this exact edits that I've given this particular Photoshop document, I can use it for other design patterns that I want to add to this dress. So for example, if maybe in the future I want to create dresses that are all sequin only, I have the base that's already edited. I don't have to re-edit this and start from scratch, if that makes sense. So I do tend to keep all the Photoshop documents of the previous items I have edited before. That way, if I want to create another version of that exact same item, I've just got the Photoshop version already available to me, and it's already pre-edited. All I have to do is literally just change the pattern, and that's it. And so now I'm going to go ahead and add the pattern. So I mentioned patterns earlier on, and this is where you have patterns. And I think not everyone really pays attention to this section, especially when you're a novice at things like Photoshop. People tend not to pay much attention, so I'm just going to drag that down. Why are you even open? Adjustment layers, like why? Bring that further down. No, don't bring down the layers. Fine. Go back up. There we go. Can I get rid? Okay, I'm just gonna leave it. So actually, can you go here? No? Yes. Thank you. And you too. Just out here taking up unnecessary space. There we go. Okay, so now we've got more space for our layers and our patterns. So that's a little trick that you can do if you find that you're struggling with the panels and stuff like that. You can literally do that. So here we've got, have I got all the patterns downloaded? I've got some of them. I've got pattern swatches. The ones that came with the game are the trees, the grass, and the water. Okay. The rest I think are ones that I've actually downloaded myself, as you can see, but I'm going to hopefully, if it's not all of them that I managed to add to Photoshop, I'm just going to try one so that you can see roughly how to go about doing it. So you click on pattern and there's a little plus button here. You click on that plus button, it gives you the option to wait, pattern name, no, where's the option? Hang on, have I forgotten how to add a pattern? The heck? Normally it's here. No, they removed it. Wait. Here we go. Load. Import patterns. Whew! For a second there I was thinking, wait, what am I doing wrong? So let's do that again. So within the pattern category, just click on the little, almost like a hamburger menu type thing on the corner. Click on that and it's got the option right there that says import patterns, and I'm gonna go ahead and it's gonna take me to likely the Photoshop original section where the patterns are, or not. Okay, this is great. Women of all repute background. Okay, that's what I downloaded. Okay, this is in a whole different section. Look at this, is a whole different section where I've got more patterns there. But let's go to the one that's in the gaming folder. We're gonna go my own made CC, and then I've got it under templates and textures, and then if I scroll down here I should see a lot of PAT. Can I do more than one? Because I really don't want to have to do them one by one. I think you have to do them one by one, because I think I've attempted this before where I've tried to import like multiple. Let me see, load, and then it just loaded just one, and there I was thinking that it loaded a whole bunch. I might be wrong, because it's been a minute since I've actually had to import any patterns into Photoshop. I had to kind of pause for a second there and wait for it to load, because that took a minute or so, and I think it's gone ahead and downloaded all of them, which is brilliant. Okay, I might have some duplicates, I am not sure, but I am just happy that it's actually managed to add them. And so to give you an idea now what they look like, this. Now, thing with patterns, they're very easy to use. Let me show you how. Let me find one that's actually quite nice. Obviously this is going to be an Afro print, so we're not going to be using any of the patterns that are here. We're actually going to be using an image, and we're going to be masking that particular image, but this is just for the purpose of people seeing what you can be able to do with patterns when you've got them. Oh, this looks almost Afro print like, but I don't know if that's going to look nice with the dress. Okay, so once you've got the patterns and you've got the pattern that you like, right, you can go through the folders that you have downloaded and see what you like, what you prefer, etc., that sort of thing. Click on the layer, that you plan on putting the pattern in. Because what patterns tend to do actually is once you've selected the pattern, it will literally automatically cover the entire area. So I will show you what I mean. Okay, so in this section, if I click on that, for instance, there you go. It literally just takes over the entire section, which is, it's kind of cool. I do like the fact that it does that because it saves you from having to do any work of having to reposition and stuff like that. With that said, it might not always place where you want it to be. For example, right now, this doesn't look cute at all. I do not like it one single bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo. I'm gonna go ahead and undo that, and I'm gonna look for another one. Okay, what's the woman in repute? Let me go down this way, maybe triangle detail. That's summer color patterns. Because when I downloaded these patterns, I had a whole bunch of different things in mind, like furniture, etc., that sort of thing. Mainly furnishing items, I think, that I was more keen to change. Pastel, triangles. Okay, let's try this pastels. Let's try the blue one. Oh, what is that? Wait, see what that is? Yep. So, oh yes, this is another thing that I forgot to show you guys. When you're deleting stuff and you've used the magic eraser and you are using the normal one of the best things that you can do in order to determine whether everything has been erased is you can always create a new layer, place it underneath the section that you've just erased items off, and then go look for a color that is in contrast with the one that that was on the original design, and then just paint it. Okay, when you do that, it will actually show you sections that you might have missed, which in my case, as you can see, when I placed that pattern, I was actually able to see the sections that I actually missed. So I'm going to go quickly back to the eraser tool, increase it in size, and then I'm going to go ahead and just delete the sections. Okay, let's see, anything else? Delete them, and I'm good. And that's done. So that layer, I can literally press delete and it's gone. And so now the dress, if the dress was going to be in this kind of style or whatever, this is how it would end up being. And because it's not my original mesh, okay, the mesh is already there, so which means in Sims 4 Studio it's actually going to show exactly how it was designed, in the sense that with like the pleats and the creasing and stuff like that, that actually doesn't go away. Even if in Photoshop right now it's looking like I have gotten rid of them, technically I haven't, because they're part of the mesh. Okay, so here I noticed that some bits and pieces that are showing as well that were still left out, so I'm gonna go ahead and erase them right now. There's another here. And so these are some of the little fine touches that you might find yourself needing to do from time to time. But like I said, once you've created the template for that particular item, you do not have to worry about having to do all of this, because once you've done it once, you're good afterwards. You know what I mean? You're completely good. And any extra like red that I have left, you know, that might be on there, all you have to do is you can always use the recolor option. Okay, in this section, in this particular situation, I can literally click on this, which is what's it called? Sorry, I always forget the names. It's because I've been using them for so long. It's the mask tool basically. Click on that adjustment layer. That's it, adjustment layer, and then I'm gonna go ahead and click on hue and saturation. And when I click on hue and saturation, it's gonna go and appear, the layer is gonna appear at the very top of the diamond section, and I'm gonna create a mask for it because it's just that I want to recolor in order to get rid of some of the bleeding reds that are there. So literally with the Alt key and going in between them, it creates that. The other option, obviously, you can be able to do that is literally right click on the layer that's at the top and it's going to basically have you create layer mask. Here it's asking me to release the mask because I've already created it, but when there's no mask, it will ask you to create a layer mask, okay, and it will go ahead and create what I've just created there. And so any changes that or edits that I make within that layer will affect the one at the very bottom, and then you're good. And so as you notice, as I created that adjustment layer, it actually made this pop up because there's a shortcut for the adjustment layer up there under properties, right? And so in this particular situation, what I want to actually do is just make sure that it stays looking like it is actually diamonds. And so I'm just gonna completely reduce the saturation, okay, and then I'm gonna increase the lightness up a little bit, and that's it, because it's kind of like black and white anyway, so that kind of helps it maintain the diamonds. If I want to change that afterwards later on to match whatever it is that I'm creating, I can go ahead and do that. How you can do that is, one way is to use the colorize. The colorizer, for example, this has got like some blues, it's like a very light pastel blue, right? So I want to create the same thing for the diamonds. I literally just have to find the blue section, because colorize literally chooses the colors accordingly, and then I can just play around with saturation, okay, and make it really bright, or take it down a notch, you know, and then maybe make it a little bit darker, you know, and then just play around with it. And if I want, for example, the diamonds to stand out more, for them to actually look like proper diamonds, you can literally go on the internet and actually find like jewelry, you know, like necklaces and things like that, and use those textures to actually create more realistic looking textures. So that's an option that you can actually be able to utilize, okay? And you can actually add that as a mask layer pretty much the exact same way as I have just added this adjustment layer, okay? And also the same way that I'm about to add the Afro print. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and clicked on dress base, and that's because when I add the Afro print, it's going to be added right above it, okay, but below the layer mask that's got the pattern in it, and I'll be able to hide that so you can just see the Afro print on its own, okay? Obviously I'm hoping you're still it might seem complicated, but honestly it's not. And so when going ahead to add the layer for the pattern design, that's actually a JPEG, a picture version as opposed to a pattern, click on file and click on place linked, okay? It's good to add it place linked, and I think you can even drag and drop it, but it also allows you to relink it in case you lose, you maybe disconnected your external hard drive and stuff like that. It'll tell you the file is missing, can you please relink it next time, etc., that sort of thing. And it's also good for packaging Photoshop documents. And so as you can see here, I've got obviously Afro print dresses, but the patterns are not there because I think I had placed them elsewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for them. Hopefully I can find them easily. I don't think they're in the rest of this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for the Afro print patterns, and I will be right back. Okay, so I've managed to find some of the other Afro print patterns that I've downloaded before. I've got others, and I think those are located in a different folder, but these were the ones that I found first. So it's just a matter of me picking the one that I think is going to work best for this particular dress. So far I've selected this one, which I think looks good. There is that one as well. Okay, these are Afro print, but I don't know how good this would look on clothing. Let me see, what's that one? Okay, no preview. That was weird. Why was there no preview? There you go. Thank you. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go for the one that I had initially. There's this one as well, which is nice. And then there's this version of it. Hang on, what's the size on this? 750 by 500. 500 by 500. Okay, got it. I think I'm going to try this blue one, to be honest. Yes, I'm being biased because I love blue. It's probably why I literally veered for the bluish looking pattern as well. It's really quite bad, the way I love the color blue. But I'm just gonna wait for it to load up, and then I'll be back in a second. Okay, so that loaded up a lot quicker than I expected, and so I'm gonna just zoom out for a bit so I can see. So now that I have been able to place it, as you can see right now, the pattern is obviously on top of it, that's why. But also I want to change the angle in which it's in. Okay, right now it's basically horizontal, but I want it to be vertical, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna change the angle from there so that I can get an exact position. I'm gonna get it to be 90 degrees. Okay, and then I can be able to place it. And if you've noticed, I'm not stretching it or pulling it out just as yet, because I need to see how it looks. And like I mentioned earlier, you have to kind of shrink it so that it can stretch out and actually not lose its resolution once it's in game. So I'm going to be shrinking this one and likely duplicating it for it to work. So because it hasn't covered this part there, I will be required to duplicate it, definitely. Okay, so at the moment the pattern is still showing, so we're going to go ahead and hide the pattern. We're going to hide the pattern, and then I'm going to go ahead and click Ctrl T to select the item again. Aspect ratio is, I don't know why my phone decided it wants to make noise now of all times, seriously, whilst I'm recording. Let's put that on Do Not Disturb. And carry on. So basically I always make sure the aspect ratio is maintained, because that way nothing gets skewed or loses its, shape, etc., that sort of thing. And I'm gonna go ahead and use the corner to just bring it in, because then it maintains the aspect ratio and nothing else gets affected negatively. So what I'm trying to determine here now is, hang on, where's the top? Okay, that's the very top, that's fine. And which means the bottom is there. Okay, this is as far as I can go, so I'm gonna go ahead and click the check mark, and then what I'm going to do is pressing on the Alt key and then selecting the same item. I'm just dragging it over, because that allows me to actually duplicate it. As you can see, I have just done that, right? And as you can see, Photoshop is actually showing me the markings to where it is, and I'm just going to use that. I use the arrow key base, just slide it back so that it's in the exact same position. As you can see, they're actually not fully aligned. If I zoom in at the top, can you see that? They're not fully aligned. So when it comes to being precise, stop scrolling. My goodness, this is ridiculous. Always double check to see if you've got the measurements right, because that does determine how it looks. So I've had to take it one down with the arrow keys. I'm going to take it to the right just to check. There's a gap, so we'll take it back, which means that's actually an exact positioning for them meeting up. But now, as you can see, there's no consistency, right? There is no consistency in the pattern after I duplicated it. So what do you do in this particular situation? What I need to do is select the copy, Ctrl T, select the copy, and then I'm going to use these keys to basically have it flip horizontally. Once I flip it horizontally, then it creates a pattern that actually flows. Okay, then it doesn't look like it's been basically divided or anything like that. It actually looks like it's continuing, you know what I mean? And obviously if you have to put more at the top, if your item is a lot bigger, etc., you have to play around with the flipping vertically and flipping horizontally so that you can maintain the pattern carrying on, that way it seems seamless, so to speak. Okay, here obviously I can still see a slight line, but I'm going to test out something real quick, although I feel like I don't need to, but just for the sake of my own. There we go. Now it's completely seamless. I could still see that line, and I was not sure if moving it one more further in was going to disturb it, but this actually makes it completely seamless where there's no line, so that when it actually shows in game, even in Sims 4 Studio, it will not look crazy, basically. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select both patterns, the original version and the copy, and then I'm going to right click on them and I'm going to turn them into a smart object, convert to smart object. That way they are one item, and if I have to move anything around, I don't have to worry that I am basically disturbing the pattern, so to speak. Okay, so in this case, remember, if you recall, I now can easily push this down without worrying that I'm disturbing what I've worked hard on. Remember, this is what divides the back to the front, right? And I'm also paying attention to how this looks. So in order to get this to be a certain way, and as you can see, it's also showing me, I am going to try and maintain that to be there. But that also means that I'm gonna have to duplicate yet another section, which is fine. Okay, so remember, I turned this into smart objects. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to duplicate the layer. Okay, so I'm literally going to press Alt key and I'm just gonna drag. Same thing that I did before. Just drag it over, which is fine. Oh my gosh, I did it twice, so it's creating it. Delete that copy. There you go. It's because I still had my finger on the Alt key when I let go of the mouse key. And just bring that here, and that should fit perfectly fine. I'm gonna use the mouse key to bring it back in one. And then, as you can see, I feel like it's not completely level. So I'm gonna use the Alt key by keeping the mouse key along where it should be meeting. Just to double check. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Thank you. Okay, I think it's fine. Okay, now that we've got that, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm literally going to combine those two, and I'm gonna again convert them to smart object. If you want to edit them individually, you can actually double click and it will open them where you can literally edit them individually. Now that that's happened, we're gonna create a mask where it masks into the base dress, and I'm going to just click Alt and click there, and voila. Okay, we are going to maintain, because we did change the thing to be slightly blue, ironically it matches, and I think we're going to keep it that way for now. Okay, this is just to show you roughly what the dress will look like. So now that we've got that, we are happy, or if you are happy with what you've done, go ahead and click on File, click on Export, and then you have the option to export as or quick export as a PNG. But however way you choose to export, make sure that the end export is a PNG and not a JPEG. It can never be a JPEG. It has to be a PNG because the rest of the background has to be transparent. Okay, so I'm gonna quick export it as a PNG because it is quicker and easier for me to be able to actually you know, export, especially whenever I'm doing like items and I have to create multiple swatches. It is a longer process when I click on export as. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it to dresses, and here on the dresses I've got double diamond base, right? So now that it's no longer a base, actually technically it still is a base. Got hiccups, excuse me. I'm gonna name it double diamond base 1, and then the next one that I recolor, it's gonna say 2, and then 3, and then 4, etc., that sort of thing. And so that I don't even have to wait for it, it's actually already exported. So I'm just going to bring Sims 4 Studio back up, okay, and then hence the reason why I said do not close it. And then because if you close it, basically you're going to have to come back and reopen this entire file, okay. Whilst you've still got diffuse open, rather than export this time, you're going to click on import, and when you click on import, it's either going to take you directly to where the file, the package file that you exported, or the thingy, the dress file, the PNG, which is what it's done right now, and then you just have to look for it, okay. If you obviously compartmentalize everything, you won't need to scroll through like I am right now to find it, but what I am looking for is the double diamond PNG. Wait, where is it? I'm sorry, am I seeing things? It should have been next to this one. Wait, no. Let me double check where I saved it. Photoshop, come back. File. Oh, is Photoshop frozen? No, it didn't. Export as PNG. Let's double check this. Let's see what's going on. Let's get to the core of the issue. Okay, double diamond base PNG. There it is. So where was it? It's right there, and it's a PNG. The heck? Okay, I'm not sure why it felt there it is. I don't know why it decided not to show up. I think maybe it was still processing. I don't know. Normally it's very quick. So go ahead and select it and then open and wait for it for a few seconds, and you're gonna see everything will change in a second. And voila. Okay, and so you'll find that the diffuse template changes there, and the dress changes here as well. So this is where obviously I'm gonna take it around to see what it looks. I actually like that. That looks nice. As you can see, it hasn't lost any of its features, and in game it's actually gonna look more detailed. But yeah, this is basically a rough okay, and obviously the inside is going to be whatever, it doesn't matter, to be honest. But I actually love the way this looks. Okay, I love it. And just like that, guys, you've created your own custom content. Now, how to label it now for in-game. Like I said earlier, right click on the, you've got 3 options for the swatches. There's about 3 colors in here, so we should be able to add 3 colors. So I'm gonna right click, that brings up the, you know, the color picker tool, and I'm going to click the most prominent color, which is that one. It's like a light blue, and just wait for it. Don't move it until it actually disappears. Otherwise it's going to, wherever you move it to, it's going to pick wherever you've highlighted. I had to learn that the hard way, because I was like, well, what's happening? I knew I clicked it, but it seems not to be changing. And then go to the next one, right click again, and then I'm going to click on the purplish section, so we can take that color as well, and I'm going to patiently wait for it without moving the mouse, so that it can there we go. I was going to say excuse me, and then click that as well. I can either choose to, I think I'll take a black-ish, it's almost like an onyx, dark purple. Oh, it's a dark purple. Why did I think that was black? And so those are the 3 colors that it's chosen, and then obviously head over to category. And then when you go to the category, you are going to see, I tend to scroll, I don't know why I've got this thing where I prefer to scroll all the way to the bottom and then make my way up. So pot flags, it's not an apron, it's a long dress, yes. Colors, it's got no red because it's not red anymore, but it has purple, and it's got blue. It's got no black. I thought it had black, but it's got no black. It's literally purple and blue. Vampire style, we're gonna skip that because it's nothing like that. Style arts quarter, bohemian. Afroprint has got a bohemian vibe about it, so you can actually click on that. Anything else? I don't see anything else. Designed by, huh? I wonder what that is. I'm gonna tick it and see what options it gives me. And then here, archetype is African. Fabric is, it's no more silk anymore, but we're gonna call it I would say cotton. And then the color palette is, they're not really earth, are these earth tones? Grayscale light and jewel, because it's got the diamonds. Okay. And then outfit type, it's a formal outfit, situation outfit. You can even put it as part of a party outfit if you like. And then obviously occult, you know, a vampire can wear it, a spellcaster, a human. Why can't an alien wear it, or a mermaid or werewolf? I'm going to test this out at a later date, but not now. And then obviously age appropriate, it's adult, elder, or teen, or young adult. A child, an infant, or toddler cannot wear this, it will look horrible. Whereas obviously adults, elders, teens, and young adults are literally the exact same size in the same sort. Okay. And then age and gender flags is adult, young adult, female, elder, and teen. Okay. And then obviously outfit type is clothing, body, it's a full body. Okay, so don't change that. And that's all the tags. These are basically the tags, even if it's saying categories now. It used to be called tags before. And then you go back to the texture, you're good. Now the difference between cut items and build by items, with build by, it gives you the option to actually name the item, At the top, it's got like a heading section where you name the item, and then it's got a description section where it actually allows you to give the description of the item, who it's created by, etc., that sort of thing. Again, because that allows, I think, to search it better in Build By, because Build By has actually got a full, properly fleshed out search, navigation system in place. And so after you have finished, and let's say, for example, you want to add additional swatches, right? You want to add additional swatches to it, or go ahead and click on Add Swatch. It will duplicate this exact same one, but you don't have to worry to say, okay, how am I going to get rid of it, etc. Because you've already got Photoshop open, you're already editing everything, and in most cases, obviously, I edit everything. I edit one, I test it out to see how it looks in Simple Studio, and then if I'm happy with it, then I continue with the rest of the swatches, and then when I finish, obviously I close it, and then I hang on, what is that? Okay, that's part of the pattern, that's fine. Then I add all the additional swatches in, one by one, and then I just recolor them accordingly. And so I'm just going to do one recolor for you guys right now to give you an idea of how you can go about doing recolors. In order to go ahead and recolor, again, it depends on the pattern that you have. If the pattern that you have looks good in other colors, then you can go ahead and make different recolors of it. Sometimes some patterns just look completely ugly when you try to change them, so you might have to do a lot of trial and error, if truth be told. But in this particular situation, I think this one might be fine if I recolor it. And how do I go about recoloring it? Pretty much like what I did with the diamonds at the top there. I've already created I always forget the name. What is wrong with me? An adjustment layer, that's it, adjustment layer. I don't know why I always forget the name adjustment layer. So I'm going to create an adjustment layer for basically the pattern, right? As you can see, I've already got it clicked on it. I've already got it selected basically. So click on adjustment layer, which is the one that looks like a half moon, and click on hue and saturation. That's my go-to, and again, it automatically brings it up in the properties. And then right now the hue and saturation adjustment layer is not masked to the pattern, so I'm going to go ahead and mask it to the pattern, and by basically clicking on the Alt key and then clicking in between the layer mask, the adjustment layer, and the actual pattern design, and it creates the mask. That way, any adjustments I actually do make will only apply to the pattern. Okay, and so as you can see, the pop-up came up. If the pop-up doesn't come up, all you have to do is literally double click on that and it will bring it up for you. In this case, it's already there, so I don't have to do that. But if it doesn't pop up in your Photoshop, double click on the adjustment layer itself and it will bring up the pop-up, whether it's attached to the bar on the side there or as a standalone pop-up. Either way, it will pop up and you will have the freedom to be able to place it on the side or move it around on the screen so that it doesn't obstruct your editing. Okay, so in this case, now I'm going to go ahead and in this situation, because of it having blue as well as purple, if I want to change the color, colorize is not the way forward, simply because it creates something like this, where right now it's all green. It's not even a variation of, purple and blue like it had before. You know what I mean? As you can see, if I go to blue, it's not the same. That's the only thing with colorize. So colorize, you have to bear in mind, it will literally maintain that one color, but different hues of that particular color. Whereas if I decide to adjust it according to just each individual, it will literally reflect what it changes according to how can I put it, I suppose what the hue would change into if you were to slide it around. So that's another way to do it. So this case, I am thinking the green looks nice. And then you can play around to whether you want it to be highly saturated or, less. I think a little bit saturated, maybe a bit darker. What would the red look like? Sorry. That does not look great. Do we like that? No. This side red. It's the same thing. I don't know why I felt the need to do that. Pink. I'm not sure. I think let's go back with the green. I kind of like the green. Yeah, the green is fine. And then let's go ahead to the diamond. Okay, so I've clicked on that, and you can notice it's changed as well. Now this one is colorized. It needed to be because of that little extra bit that we had. So, and I'm just going to take it to the green. As you can see, it's changed to green as well. And obviously you can adjust that accordingly, add saturation, reduce saturation, add darkness, you know, if you want it to. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export that as a PNG. And I normally just click on the last one that I did, double click to the end, and then this is number 1, we put number 2 and enter, save, and it's done, hopefully. But obviously it did us dirty last time. Okay, oh look, it's doing something. Okay, maybe that's what it was. Let's see, let's find out. Remember, you've already duplicated it. If you haven't, you go ahead and duplicate it and then import the next one in line, which is number 2. And like I said, I normally finish them all first and then I start to add them, but for the sake of this tutorial I just wanted to show you guys, if you're adding additional swatches to the item, this is basically what you need to do. Just add a swatch, it duplicates it, and then you just change the tags. More specifically the color swatches and the color tags, everything else stays the same. As you can see, this is the green one. I actually do like the way the green one looks. Okay, I love the way the green one looks. Looks really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and change the colors for this. Let me bring it a little bit closer. Okay, just literally right click, and the prominent one is the green one. Right click, and then that one, I don't know what color that's gonna look like. It's like a grayish. And then that one, I'm gonna take that, which is like this time I think it's black. So I'm going to go to categories, which again, you know, depending on the version of the Sims Studio you might have. I think they've updated everything, I'm assuming, because even this has changed quite a lot. I'm going to go ahead and look for color palette. It's no longer grayscale. The other one was kind of grayscale-ish, but this one is more summer, spring. I'd say spring because it's green. And then I'm going to, where's the colors? There we go. Colors is not purple, defo not, and not blue, but we're gonna find green, and then we're gonna have black, because I feel like that's all we can see. And go back there, and that's pretty much it. And once you've finished and you're happy with your results in Sims 4 Studio, go ahead and click on save. And then when the package file has actually saved, there you go. Once the package has been saved, it's saved, and you are ready to actually place it in your mods folder, which I'm going to show you in a moment. I do want to point out something. As you can see here, you've got the catalog thumbnail, right? You can import your catalog thumbnail. However, the very first time you have created your or recolored your item, do not create your catalog thumbnail just as yet. You have to go in-game first, open, obviously activate mods, go in-game, test out your item, and by test out I mean literally go to every single swatch you've created for that item so that the game can actually register it. It's pretty much like the way the game has to be loaded the very first time you install the Sims 4 for it to create the mods folder. So the very first time you're adding custom content into the Sims 4, it's like the game has to register it, and it has to register every single swatch. And then after you've done that, right, only then can you come back into Sims 4 Studio, reopen that particular file, and actually add a picture or image of that particular item. Or actually no, let me reverse before I confuse anybody. You've got two options. Yes, you actually no. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry guys. Yes, you have to actually have it register, and then you have to come back in here. When you come back in here, is only then you can either do two things. Either add a custom thumbnail that you've created, so whilst you're in game, maybe you can have your sim wearing the outfit and you take some nice pictures of it using poses, or you know, pausing the game when they're making a nice pose or whatever, and then you can turn that into a little thumbnail that you can place in there. Or the Sims 4 itself will create the thumbnail for you. But if you want to share it to other people and you want them to be able to recognize that you are the creator, then you can be able to, after you come back, and you can basically come back and import your logo. Okay, there's a particular size that your logo has to be, and when you import it, you have to design it so that it can fit at the bottom of this particular square. That way the thumbnail that the Sims 4 studio or this game automatically create for you will not be overshadowed by your logo, but your logo will be at the bottom, and people will be able to see a preview of, you know, what the item actually looks like. Okay, and I'm going to show you real quickly what mine looks like. So if I go to here and I go to documents, is it documents? No, Recolor info, no. If I go to, where is it? Because I know I do have my logo artwork, sorry, under artwork. I think that, yes. So I've got this logo and that logo ready for use for my CC creations. This is the one I mainly use. This is when I want to use my actual IRL design elements to be added to the game fully properly. But this, you can see it's a 116 by 116, and as you can see here, even if, because I've got dark mode, obviously you can see like this, the square, it's at the very bottom, so that when you see a preview of my item, you actually be able to see, you know, and this is if I follow the instructions that I'm actually giving you. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. You can use Photoshop, create a 16 by 16 square, place your logo at the very bottom, and then save it as a PNG file. Keep it in a folder somewhere so that you can easily be able to import it every single time. And just to give you an idea of some of the items I've been able to download, I do have this Afro print collection available on my website as well. So this is roughly an idea of some of the things that you can be able to actually do when it comes to creating custom content. I made like a do-rag, and I think I did this for Black History Month if I'm not mistaken. So do-rag, I recolored a bunch of like nanocan trash cans, and I attempted to create some suits with Afro print. I didn't like the suits very much, I'll be very honest, but I think the women's dress came out a lot better. What else did I did post boxes as well, which I recolored. So I basically just recolored a few items because I just wanted to add a little bit more Afro print in my game. So I did the do-rags, and I actually did the head wrap as well for the women, even if it's not showcased in the front here. I did the trash cans, I did the suit and dresses, and then I did obviously the mailboxes, and that was it. But this is to give you an idea. Now, because right now with my computer that I'm using, I'm not able to record in-game. So what I'm actually going to be showing you is I'm going to finish off screen, right, and additional swatches, maybe 2 or 3 more swatches of this particular dress, and then I'm going to go ahead and take screenshots in game, and yeah, the screenshots I'm going to take in game, basically I'm going to be showing you on screen so that you can actually see what the end result looks like. And then I'll be right back. So okay, so like I mentioned earlier, I was going to show you how some of the features, or should I say some of the features that are in Photoshop that do not work in Photopea. So we are currently in Photopea, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually open the very same Photoshop document of the double diamond base into there. If you recall, I saved it in Photoshop as a PSD, so I'm actually able to open it in Photopea, which is pretty simple. As you can see, it pretty much looks almost the same as Photoshop. And so a few elements to bear in mind when you are actually using Photopea is that first of all, the Control T, which is basically to select an item, does not work in Photopea because Control T, I'm using Chrome. Control T is a shortcut to actually open a new tab. So if I press Control T right now, it will go ahead and open a new tab. And so you don't want to do that, right? So in order to select an item in the same way that you would if you press Control T in Photoshop with Photopea, all you have to do is actually just have the item selected. And once you've got the item selected, just make sure at the very top there, you've got the transform controls checked up. Okay, you have to make sure that you've got the check mark on. If the check mark is off, obviously you will not see it selected, so you have to have that on. I tend to keep it on all the time in Photopea, and I also tend to keep distances on as well as auto select. The reason being is it helps me see, especially if I'm trying to make sure something is completely accurate in measurement, it helps me see the distance between the bottom and the top, the side, and the sides, especially if I want something to be completely center. The measurements actually help a great deal with that. Obviously you are free to uncheck it so that you don't have to see that. That's an option. Okay, another key that works differently in Photopea as opposed to Photoshop is when you're creating the mask. When you're creating the mask in Photopea, in Photoshop you have to press Alt and then hover between the two, the layer that's at the bottom and the layer at the top, in order for it to kind of lock in. Whereas in Photopea you basically press Alt, click that, you press Alt, but you just click on the layer that's at the top. So if I click that, whilst I've got the Alt key pressed, it released the layer, right? And whilst I've got the Alt key pressed and I click again, it creates the mask again. So that's pretty much all you can do. The other alternative is very much like Photoshop. You right click on the top layer and then you will have the option to be able to create the clipping mask. As you can see here, it says clipping mask and it's got a check mark on it, meaning the clipping mask is visible, is actually activated, whereas if I click that, it will obviously deactivate it. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click and clipping mask and done. So that's how that one works. What else works differently? Another thing that works differently is if you're trying to export files, okay, because in Photoshop you can export a PNG straight away. With Photopea you have to go to File and then you have to click on Export As, and literally you can see all the options available here that you can be able to export as. Okay, obviously there's a lot more down there, but the one that you need is PNG, and you literally just click on the format that you are going to be exporting the file. It will show you even the name, so if you want to rename it to whatever you want to name it to, you can rename it from here, or you can rename it when you decide to save it. And when you click save, obviously it's not like Photoshop where it's going to just go ahead and save it to wherever. If you basically have to find obviously the place where you want to go ahead and save the item, and here it's in dresses obviously, and this one I think was the last one because I went ahead off camera and I added a couple of more designs just for the sake of showing the results. And I think this one that I'm seeing right now was the last one, which is that one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one, and it's called Double Diamond Base 5, and I'm going to click save. But bear in mind, because it already exists, it's pre-existing, it's going to tell me, do I want to replace the current one? So go ahead and replace it, and what it's going to do is going to download it, okay, because bear in mind you're using a browser, therefore from the browser it means you're going to have to download any items that you're actually saving. That's how it works, and that's pretty much it. If you want to save it as a Photoshop document, obviously go ahead, click on File and click Save as PSD, and it will save it as a Photoshop document. It will ask you where you'd like to save it, obviously within your computer, and then you give it a name and then you save it and you download it, and then that is actually saved. And then even when you are editing an item, because you've taken it from your computer, from your desktop, it will actually automatically go and set, it will actually automatically go ahead, I'm getting tongue-tied, go ahead and it will automatically save the Photoshop document that's actually on your desktop when you click save after you've made any amendments. So it's kind of good that way. Everything else pretty much works in the same way. As you can see, you might find that the icons are maybe a lot more pronounced, but honestly it's got the exact same elements. The gradient tool, paint bucket, the eraser tool is the same. You've got the magic eraser tool, the normal eraser tool, background eraser tool, the paintbrush, so it's pretty much got all the same elements. Okay, so hopefully that will help in people being able to actually see how Photopea works with the editing of any creations that you're gonna edit, obviously, for your Sims 4. Now we're gonna go ahead and go back to Sims 4 Studio, because within Sims 4 Studio I am going to go ahead and show you how to place your logo if you're going to be able to brand your items, because bear in mind I have already gone in-game, and like I mentioned earlier on, I was not able to record the in-game because it just doesn't let me on this computer at the moment. But what I managed to do is take screenshots, and what I did was, because I do use reshade, the color tends to look different, so I did turn off reshade so that you guys can actually have the true color of what it's going to look like for you in game as well, especially if you do not use reshade. So as you can see right now, here's one of the pictures. This is the last one that I had made. I think I made about 4 or 5 different designs. So this is one of them, and for those who are wondering, I'm using a custom loading screen, custom cast background. I prefer to use a custom cast background because I like to have a mirror at the back. So here, as you can see, I have okay, yeah, Sims4 Studio is opened, perfect. So I'm gonna let that finish loading in the background. So we've got that dress. As you can see, they came out really well. They came out really well, and the reason why I love using the custom cast background with the mirror is because I get to see what the clothing looks behind at the back without having to turn the sim around all the time. Plus also for screenshots, if you want to share them for people to see, this is a perfect way of you not needing to have to take a picture twice to show the back, if that makes sense, and the front. So here's the other one that I made. That's another one. They all came out really well. And this is the one obviously that you guys saw in the tutorial, the process of making this one, and I took 2 pictures of that one. And then here's the blue version, and as you can see, you just have to know how obviously elements match with one another in order for it to work. Like for instance, how I was able to change the diamonds, I had to choose the color that would will look good and not clash, you know what I mean, with the whole thing. So yeah, that's pretty much what I worked with. So, and they worked perfectly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close that. I'm going to go ahead and open as you can see, my project is showing me. I'm just gonna go ahead and open the Afro print dress, because now the game has been able to recognize that particular package file, and so I have the freedom to be able to edit it within obviously Sims4 Studio. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the logo. As you can see, it's now showing the picture. So this is what I mentioned earlier. You have to take it in game for it to actually show you the thumbnail of the item you've actually created. It doesn't work the very first time. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to import my logo for EPCmedia, EPCreativeMedia. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to go to artwork. It should be an artwork, yes, and there, and place that, and that should go right on top. Normally it doesn't. It should. I think when I go back in game, it's not going to disappear. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works. So how I was able to ensure that I had a good thumbnail with my logo still on there and not skewed as it was before, what I did was I actually went back into the game, and then I actually, before I went back into the game, I cleared every single one of the thumbnails. I pressed clear and it was blank all over again. I saved the file and I placed it back into the mods folder, and then I opened the game, and then I went through all the swatches in game. Okay, after I went through all the swatches in game, I saved the game, and then I exited, and then I transferred that file into the Sims, my Sims editing folder, and I opened it here in Sims4 Studio. And then what I did actually, when you open a file that you've already gone through the swatches in game, you will find that the thumbnails will return, right? The plain thumbnail, like with the transparent background. So that's literally what I received. Let me see if I can actually find them so that I can show you what they look like.
Okay, so these are the thumbnails, okay, that that appeared right in Sims 4 Studio. And what I actually did in Sims 4 Studio is I exported every single one of them, and that's how you can see that they are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And after exporting them into Sims 4 Studio, as you can see, when you hover over them, you can literally roughly see their dimensions. Hence, when I placed the one that was this shape, basically the square shape, it got skewed because it was trying to squeeze it to be this 104 by 148 versus basically having a 116 by 116. And so rather than opening Photoshop all over again and doing all of that, I actually used a different method where I simply just went Express. Now, for those who don't know Adobe Express, it is obviously under the Adobe Creative Cloud, but also it is available to use for free. It works in a very similar manner to CapCut and which other ones? There's CapCut, there's Clipchamp, there is also Canva. So it works in a similar fashion to all of theirs. It is available for people to actually use for free, but there are also some premium features that come with it if you have an Adobe Creative Cloud account of some sort, even an individual one specifically for Adobe Express, because it also gives you space, like in terms of like space to keep your files within, you know, the application's cloud. So what I actually did in Adobe Express, I simply, obviously, when you go to Adobe Express, because obviously I'm showing you a screen where it's already done. However, in order to save time, I don't want to have to go all the way to the beginning. But when you go to Adobe Express for the very first time, it does ask you to start a file, and it gives you options on how you want to go about starting it, whether it's a video, whatever it is that you're trying to work on, right? And so in my case, I ended up just selecting a file from, you know, my desktop, and it was this file. Okay, it was this file. And so when I placed it, because it was a transparent file, automatically, in most cases they're not, Adobe Express will have an opaque background, and if you want to keep it transparent, you literally can just click on the background option, and in the background option it does give you the option to choose the color that you want, or obviously check mark that or select it, should I say, which automatically removes the background, and you end up with a transparent background to your file, as you can see right now. Okay, and so that's an option. Obviously for me, I wanted like a baby blue type of color. That's what I ended up picking. So I'm just going to go ahead and click undo so that you can see what I ended up doing. And with the file in there, what I ended up doing is I just clicked on upload. Now when you click on upload with Adobe Express, it automatically brings whatever you've uploaded directly onto basically the, you know, into the frame. And so as soon as I went and I clicked on upload, I went and I collected the EPCreativeMedia logo, which you've already seen in the files. I selected it, and then I resized it slightly so that it can fit within the dimensions of the thumbnail. And now something you will also notice in regards to the thumbnail, because it is so small and I'm having to expand it so much on screen, it's going to be pixelated, but don't worry about that because that's not the aim here. The quality is still going to be very clear when it's in cast, so you don't have to worry about it being pixelated and you trying to find a way to get it to look clear, because that is not the aim and that's not going to do us any favors. So I went ahead and I basically just resized it, and so for it to fit at the bottom so that it's visible in cast but also doesn't basically hide the dress. Okay, that's very important. If you're going to place your logo, place it somewhere where you know whenever you have your cast items, even the build by items, just make sure that it doesn't block the actual item so that people can actually see what it fully looks like. And so that's what I literally did. And what I actually ended up doing in addition to that is I actually ended up just locking the logo in place. And the reason why I decided to lock the logo in place is because I didn't want to have to interfere with it when I was sorting out that particular file. And when I say that, I mean like when I lock it, let me unlock it so you can see how that happens. Unlocking is very easy. Just click on the lock. when it's grayed off, and it literally automatically unlocks it. But to lock it, once you've got an item selected, all you have to do is click the 3 dots, and in the drop down menu you're gonna have a whole bunch of options. Lock, allow, image, replace, which basically you can still replace the image, but it will be still locked in place in terms of it won't move around whilst you're fidgeting with the other layers, right? But I went ahead and completely locked it because I did not need to do anything else with it. The only one that I needed to amend was the bottom image, and also the way the layers work in Adobe Express. You see the layers, they come across on the right hand side, and so it's pretty self-explanatory. Whichever item is above the other item is the one that's on top, which is the situation here. And so here what I ended up doing is I just kept on clicking replace. I clicked replace. When I clicked replace, it allowed me to go back in my computer files, and I was able to select the next dress up. And then every time I changed the dress, I clicked on download. And when you click on download, it gives you the option, obviously, to be able to actually download the item, obviously. Now, when I was downloading the image, this is very important. Sims 4 Studio, I don't know if anyone's noticed throughout this tutorial, uses only PNG files, and so the export has to be a PNG file, especially if you're going to have it transparent in the background. Yeah, definitely make sure that it's a PNG file. I went ahead and clicked on download, and once you do that, it will literally start downloading, and then obviously depending on your settings for your browser, it will ask you where you want to download the item and what you want to name it. You name it accordingly, and then you save it. And that's pretty much what I did. So every time I exchanged the address picture, I ended up downloading it, and so on and so forth. And so that's how I ended up getting these. So this was the end result of the exported versions of the files at the top mixed in with my logo, right? And so now, after that was done, I went back to Sims 4 Studio, okay, and I ended up just basically importing the new thumbnail. So if you remember, you would initially just have the thumbnail with just the dress on its own and completely transparent, and you just want to replace them. And so you've got export, import, and clear, right? And what you want to do for each thumbnail is to go ahead and import, and that's pretty much what I did. I clicked on import. It took me to my files where I could go look for the necessary file that I needed, and it replaced it, and that was done. It honestly works pretty simple. As you can see, there it's giving me the option. I can select which one I need and then go ahead, but I'm not going to do that because obviously it's already done. So I clicked cancel on that. And after you have finished importing all the swatches, okay, according to your desired outcome, then if you're happy with everything, just go ahead and click on save. And after you click on save, your file is pretty much ready. It will tell you your package file has been saved. Go ahead and click on OK, and then this gives you the option, obviously, to close Sims 4 Studio. Whichever folder your package file is in that you've just finished editing, make sure that you make a copy of it that you paste into your mods folder. And once you do that, obviously you can be able to go back in your game, and you will be able to successfully see that your thumbnails are actually ready. And so yeah, that kind of brings me to the end of this tutorial. Obviously it was not meant to be a very long tutorial, it was not meant to be to this length, but I hope you do find it useful. I hope you've been able to follow all the steps, because I know I can be quite verbose, but I'm a detail-oriented type of person, and so I do like to be detailed because that's how I understand things, and so that's how I express things as well.
For those who actually like the dresses I have actually made as part of the tutorial, because literally they were just part of the tutorial, if you are interested in those dresses, I am going to go ahead and put them on my website. If I don't put them on my website, I'm going to put them on Patreon. Either way, you're going to be able to download them for free, and I will put the link in the description as well. If you've got any questions, do feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Obviously, if you are new to my channel, please do click on that subscribe button and obviously the bell button so that you can receive notifications every time I upload new videos, and give this video a thumbs up. It helps immensely in the algorithm. Do share this video if you find anybody might be interested in learning how to create their own custom content recolors as a beginner. Otherwise, I wish you all the blessings that God has to give. For me, it's take care and good. Bye.